So, this is the Friday Night Live, and we have a lot of updates to share. This week has been packed like August has been for news and updates from the Kolkata rape victims case now taking national steam, becoming a contention for politics. We don't want to keep playing on it. It is an incident that needs judicial intervention now, and any kind of political slugfest is highly deplorable. Bangladesh, our neighbor, is suffering with a crisis where a TV journalist and a party worker, a senior party post holder from Sheikh Hasina's party, has been found dead in India, which is a very scary situation on the international borders. Coming to business journalism, there's something that has drawn my attention, which is the much coveted Geo and Disney Hotstar merger. So, for those who have been following mergers and acquisitions, especially in the media field, Z and Sony was the threshold which was being anticipated since 2021. Last year, December, it fell off. This was rightly predicted by a team of analysts and lawyers when I covered this news in Republic Business. And there are a few lessons that Nita Ambani has got right when it comes to the Geo and Disney Plus Hotstar merger. So, when the marriage between Z and Sony was being written, Sony wanted to tie up with Z. Z was going to win here because Z was going through a share of losses. Media, in its own right, is actually a loss making profession per se, and a loss making business conglomerate is what my hypothesis and my understanding of this field has been. And they were going to control 26%, but Puneet Goenka, Subhash Chandra, the SL Group CEOs, his son was going to be the CEO of this merged entity. Z wanted to call the shots. Sony had more weightage, but Sony got a leeway when Puneet Goenka was questioned by the SEBI, when SEBI tightened its noose around him. And here is when the debacle actually started. There was a lot of push and pull to a level that Z kept asking for extensions on the listings on Bombay Stock Exchange, on BSE. The exchanges were informed time and again that there's an extension to a point where Culver Max, which is Sony Entertainment Pictures India Private Limited, that came up and said that we've terminated the merger. Now, Z wanted to sue Sony for a very hefty sum, some 700 crores. But this then actually fell off. These companies have now mediated out of court, which is the advisable recourse to take. Now, when we compare the situation to Disney Plus Hotstar and Geo Cinema, as we know, Geo has been leading in data when it comes to its data venture, its telecom business, the Geo venture of the Reliance Group, the Mukesh Ambani-led conglomerate. If you deeply study the Ambani family, from Dhirubhai Ambani to the two Ambani scions, who are now business conglomerate holders of their own right, the two brothers have stark differences. But here we're going to focus on Mukesh Ambani and his son Akash Ambani venturing into Geo. So Geo has had its fair share of successes, very rare failures. Voot of Viacom 18 was merged, and Geo Cinema was first offered as a free entity to all Geo users, but then slowly it was also expanded. There was a high range of acquisitions, and the IPL actually was the winning bet for them. When Hotstar lost to Geo in the streaming rights for IPL is when the merger actually made a lot of sense. So Disney Plus Hotstar actually, the Fox group, when it merged with Disney, it obviously got rights into the Marvel universe, into the Disney cartoon universe. So a wider audience was actually catered to. But still, there was stiff competition from Amazon Prime and Netflix, which is why the Disney Plus Hotstar was not able to make its position into the market that prominently. Now, when they are going to merge with Geo Cinema, it's very clear from the start. It will not be a different entity. It will be merged into Geo Cinema. Are they going to be called Geo Cinema Disney Hotstar? We're going to see that. If you followed the Ambani wedding, the Jamnagar celebrations, um, Neeta Mani was actually wearing an emerald with a Mickey Mouse. She is going to be the chairman of this merged entity. So this is a very streamlined process, and the Ambanis have their game straight, especially Mukesh Ambani. He has his game very, very straight. In fact, if we're talking of the Ambanis, there's another update. Anil Ambani is in soup for he's being regulated by SEBI for 5 years. He will not be able to trade. His company RHBL into the housing business has ran into trouble. So when Dhirubhai Ambani passed away without a will, the two brothers actually had a rift. And even though Anil Ambani had a head start with all the telecom and the television business, the broadcasting business, it could have actually soared, but his business decisions have always been questionable. He was again trying to revive his Reliance set of companies with the Rafale deal, but it was under a lot of scrutiny by the opposition, and finally it was called off. And apart from that, Mukesh Ambani has been the savior for his brother, even though they've been into court battles and not exactly public spats, but yes, a lot of to and fro has happened to a level where the mother had to intervene. But Anil Ambani has always been a part of the family celebrations, and obviously blood is thicker than water, which is why Mukesh Ambani has time and again stepped in for his brother. But here, Mukesh Ambani has his own dreams. He is fighting head and toe with Gautam Adani, a first generation Gujarati business. So these two nemesis in India, the Ambani and the Adani, are basically playing high on renewable energy. So if you really see the Mukesh Ambani company trifurcation per se, Akash Ambani is going to control Jio. Isha Ambani is control the lifestyle vertical with Ajio and the Reliance Smarts and all the lifestyle and FMCG business. While Anand Ambani has a new situation with him, not just the oil and gas business, but also the renewables, which will be something that he will be taking care of. Jamnagar was an occasion for not just bringing Bollywood together, but also in the AGM that has been recently conducted by Reliance. Mukesh Ambani has made his intent very clear that he wants to set a very parallel universe in Jamnagar, very parallel to Mudra Port, which is the stronghold of Adani. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how the two conglomerates now head on fight for the renewable race in India. If we take the political connotations here, Mukesh Ambani has had investments in West Bengal. He's actually praised Mamta Banerjee to a very questionable level, a very eye raising level, just before the elections concluded. We all know the closeness the conglomerates share with the present government, but the alternate arrangements, be it Sunil Mittal or Mukesh Ambani were searching in Mamta Banerjee, were actually something to be witnessed. It was a fine print which many have missed. Uh, Extending ourselves to the startup universe, Zepto has actually risen to a level where it has created history. In the Hurun list, 21-year-old Kevalya Vora has actually risen as the richest and youngest Indian, basically richest youngest Indian. His partner, 22-year-old Adit Palicha, is basically left, right, and center, being able to control the narrative for Zepto. They had a bit of a speed bump when there was an ice cream delivered with a finger in it. But apart from that, Zepto has actually risen a lot in the startup race, especially at a time when the startup universe was dealing with a very stiff funding winter. We saw the debacle of Byju's, we saw how Paytm had suffered regulations, but here is where Zepto actually strengthened its pitch deck to a level that it could raise investment after investment. It has risen to five times its initial valuation in the same year, raising funds after funds. And here is one very significant question. Now, is Zepto going to be the death bell, the death knell for Kirana shops? As an urban dweller, I am very dependent on Blinkit, Swiggy, Instamart, and Zepto. I remember a conversation a couple of years ago where somebody from Bangalore actually ordered these services because the traffic is harsh, the work conditions are harsh, and it is very, very important for such services to come up. But this urban dependence on quick deliveries and food deliveries has actually now been a very big threat to the kirana stores, and the organization KET, the Confederation of Traders Industry in India, has actually spoken against it. It's to be seen if the Commerce Ministry and the Indian government are going to do something about it, because there has been a question on the unchecked growth of these startup companies like Blinkit, which is now acquired by Zomato, Swiggy Instamart, which was almost going to be acquired by Amazon just ahead of its IPO. The Swiggy group is going in for an IPO with a valuation of probably 5 billion. And Zepto is actually doing very well for itself. But is this going to change the game for e-commerce and quick commerce per se? Because now even Flipkart is piloting its quick commerce journey. People's attention spans and people's waiting spans have really reduced, and it is to be seen if Flipkart and Amazon, which were just waiting to see if Blinkit and Zepto are able to weather the storms of quick commerce, now they want to plunge into the game and they want to give stiff competition to them. Apart from that, the Paris Olympics have now given way to the Paralympics, and India's Avni has actually brought laurels to the country in the categories which are going to be mentioned at the side. And basically, it's been a fulfilling week per se when it comes to business updates, and political updates have also followed suit. Smriti Irani has actually spoken in favor of her nemesis Rahul Gandhi, who defeated her from Amethi this time. She's saying that everything that Rahul Gandhi is doing in his third version as leader of opposition is something that needs to be seen. It's a very calculated move. And yes, there's a lot of change that we're seeing in what he used to be called as Papu Gandhi. And this is the kind of the past that he shares with his grandmother, who was called Gungi Gudia at a point, but then she rose to actually impose the emergency. She was called the only man in her cabinet. Is Rahul Gandhi going to write a similar fate for himself? Only time will tell. Kangana Ranaut has actually brought in troubles for the BJP, but there was a very deplorable comment made by the Shiromani Akali Dal, where they said that she's used to rapes, which is why she was speaking against the farmer protests. Yes, this is a different issue. Kangana has been very open mouthed and very unchecked when it comes to that, but a woman's honor cannot be brought down, especially at a time when this country is immediately battling with the crises when it comes to the security of women in metropolitan cities, let alone the villages and the smaller towns in the country. That's all from me for the updates. I will be waiting for your comments, waiting for some feedback. And stay tuned to NeUp. We are trying to streamline news for you. It's a one man army for now, where we are trying to bring in all the consolidated updates so that you don't have to fish for news everywhere. You get the feed which really matters to you. Your support really matters to us. We would want to expand, we would want to monetize so that we are able to better our quality when it comes to news. This is not a service, this is actually something that needs your support as well, because if media is not strong, then media cannot question, and if media cannot question, then there are questions on the media, and it's a never ending circle. Do your bit, subscribe, it doesn't cost you anything. Stay tuned.